Right. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the Breaking Barriers podcast, Dadpod 2, as I will call it. Today I have Tim, David, and Brandon, and myself, Robert Polisek. We're going to be discussing feeding in our children's journey thus far in their trajectory of, life in general. With that, let's kick it over to Tim to talk about kind of like just give us a rough overview of kind of the beginning stages of kind of how Brookie after she was born and kind of um what her trajectory was when she was first born and what you and your wife were talking about, prior to the birth and then once she was born, kind of the first couple days of life.
All right. So, yeah, I think I said on the last podcast, Erin had connected with some other families and she had pointed out that one of the kids only had a G tube. And I remember telling myself, I'm like, G tube, like this is what we're in for, And so anyway,
First of
Brookie's,
all, I'll stop you right there. Like,
yeah.
did you know what a G tube was?
I think I like knew, but I had never seen one, I'd never, yeah, I definitely had never seen one before, but I kind of knew what yeah, I knew what it was, I guess. Never heard of a GJ.
That's
or
an even
what,
different. That's
yeah,
another
yeah.
subject. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone on this podcast has any experience with, so we'll just mention it and you can look it up if you want.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's part of Brookie's journey,
Oh,
so
well, all right. Go for
yeah,
it.
yeah. So when she was first born, we fed her by bottle. We tried to like I think the most she ever took by a bottle was like about an ounce. And I remember being with nurses and stuff that would show us little techniques about holding her to the side and that kind of thing, and that seemed to work. And so we were doing that for like the first month or so of her life, and she still had a NG tube. Yeah, NG through the nose.
Nasal. Yep.
Little white one, yeah. I don't know if you guys ever seen like the child life specialists. I remember one time like sewed one into a um, teddy bear stuffed animal to,
Oh, yeah. So is that how
just
is that how you learned? Did you learn how to place it?
no, we never learned how to place it.
Oh,
No,
really?
no. Yeah, they drop it down, and no, I did not have to do that, thank
David,
God.
did you have to was Lillian receive an NG tube? I know I'm kind of jumping here, but
She had the NG tube, but we never had to learn how to place it.
oh wow. Okay. Well
Yeah.
then I'm gonna have a humble brag here where I was able to learn how to literally place the NG tube and learn how to like listen for when like we had to literally like push air into Mia's stomach to hear like a poof to
Yep,
know that the NG was that the tube went far enough
yep,
into the
Wait,
stomach. And then like we had to tape it. So like kind of
yeah,
tailing off of what Tim was mentioning, where like they show like what they're doing to the child, but literally like we were taught how to do that. And like Gina was she was a little fearful of it. She learned it obviously in emergencies, but like whenever it came to actually having to replace it and whatnot, she tapped me. So yeah, so that was that's just something. Again, I learned that within the 2 weeks of being a father for the very first time. Like that's not
yeah.
something I ever thought I would experience. So carry on, Tim.
No,
well,
that's
and
awesome.
I do remember us like learning like the poof and listening, but they made it like clear if it comes out like when we go home, just come back into the hospital.
Wow. Okay. Well, you guys live close enough, right? You guys are within like 10, 15 minutes.
We drive an hour for our
You
hospital.
guys do, you are that far out. Oh, I didn't know. So you guys are just as far out as we are. Okay.
Yeah, for her medical team, we choose to drive an hour.
Well, I mean, kudos to you. I agree. But either way, like that's interesting that they didn't teach you that in the NICU. Wow. Okay. Well, that's a conversation for another day or maybe
Yeah.
later. We'll see. All right, carry on, Tim.
So yeah, Brookie had the NG tube, and we tried to feed her by mouth when she had heart surgery at 6 weeks old, and when they were doing a chest X-ray, the cardiologist thought he saw what might have been formula in her lungs from an aspiration. So he told us this to be safe to stop it before the surgery, so she didn't have any complications. And then she honestly has just never picked it back up after the surgery with the bottle feeding.
Okay.
So then she was doing, we struggled with it a lot. I remember she was doing like a lot of throwing up and all this kind of stuff. And we finally came to the realization that a GJ would be better for her. So they stuff it in further to the jejunum. That's what the J is for, because it's goes past the stomach.
Right.
And you have to go slower with there. So she was started out on a 22-hour a day feed. We get a 2-hour break when she was awake. And to fast forward it all, we feed her bolus four times a day now, and I can do it in like 5 to 10 minutes if I need to. And we just try oral feeds for her, but she doesn't dig it, you know. And I
Right.
feel bad, well, it's not that I feel bad, but I remember we had a birth to three worker come to the house early, and she said the kids that usually don't get it, like the parents will usually stop doing it, and then the kids don't have the ability to learn. And so anyway, that's kind of where we're at. Like she's 4 years old now, and we'd have to start at absolute ground zero, which
And I mean, I don't know if anyone's listened to like then if or like we'll get to this if any of you have like a nutritionist or work with various therapies and whatnot, but there's ways to go about it. But as we've learned with all therapies that our children go through, like the sooner they start it, the better results they'll get from them, right? So I mean, it's definitely hard now that she's 4 years in and she's of that mindset, like why would I start, feeding by mouth now when you just pump it into my stomach and I'm good to go, or like just
yeah.
how stomach into the GJ tube that you were mentioning. So I'll kick it over to David then to kind of do like a rough overview of kind of Lillian's story thus far with her feeding journey.
Yeah, so it's interesting how like I remember so vividly certain parts of it, and then other parts are kind of just like shadows of what I do remember. Obviously, she started with the NG tube until she was kind of apparent and awake enough to take or to try bottle or nipple. The first day of her birth, she actually went in for surgery because she had a myelomeningocele, so a giant softball-sized mass on her back because she also has spina bifida. So the surgeon said immediately, like, nope, she's stable enough. We're going right in for surgery. So she had the surgery. So she was a little groggy for the first little bit, and with pain meds and everything. But that NG tube was in. That's how we were feeding her. We were trying to do. My wife was doing breastfeeding with our other two kids, and that was the goal for her. Latching, I remember, was never happening. We tried the nipple shield. We would obviously try to stimulate with just putting some of the milk on her lips and whatnot, and that colostrum. And then I remember we were finally comfortable enough to and able to get the Ronald McDonald House. So we stayed at the Ronald McDonald House. We were trying bottle feeds. She wasn't latching at all to the nipple, so to my wife's nipple, we went to the bottle. We were trying the bottle, and we remember coming back one morning. It was probably a week or so into her staying in the hospital, maybe a little bit more, and she had a male nurse, and he gave us this bottle, and he said, "This is her first bottle." She actually took some from the bottle. So we were super excited, and then and I still kind of hold, it over my wife a little bit. She wouldn't take the bottle from my wife for the longest time. She took one from me, and then I was the only one who, out of us that was able to feed her, she would take it some from the nurses. For whatever reason, Lillian was so stubborn, and she just wouldn't take it from my wife. So Britta really, um, it obviously, I could see that it ate away at her a little bit. She was already upset that she wasn't able to breastfeed like she has with our other kids, and develop that connection. She had to have the C-section, also, so this was a new experience, and not having that breastfeeding connection, I know, was a struggle. Jumping forward, we went home with the NG tube just in case. We were in the NICU for 18 days. Go home, we were able to feed her. I think it was second day home, maybe, like rips that NG tube out. and and then but the doctor was like, well, she's taking it from the bottle, so just let's don't even worry about it. Just keep doing the bottle. We were continuing with the bottle, and then um, eventually we needed to go to the G tube, which I don't know if you want me to talk about now, or should we
You can just touch
transition?
on it. We'll go into specifics in a little bit.
Okay, we had multiple hospital stays, about when she was 2, give or take, and we were in the hospital like 7 times in a 9-month period for pneumonia. She was aspirating, and we realized that, we did a swallow study, that she was swallowing right into her lungs, which was causing the pneumonia. And then the doctor then said, we're going to need to do a G tube. Of course, we got, scared, nervous, not sure what that was, even though we've seen it with other kiddos. Best decision we ever made. Super convenient. It made road trips a heck of a lot easier and nicer also. Um, I mean, she was taking food orally that whole time. I mean, we were giving her, we were making her food and everything. And so then we had to transition just to, um, a formula, a complete formula. And, that's where we are currently right now.
Gotcha. So since my daughter Mia is fully G tube right now and does feeding by mouth for taste, Brandon, his daughter Fiona, eats fully by mouth, and he's got his own journey. But so we stay on path with like the G tube. I'll touch on Brandon after my little hierarchy, or not hierarchy, but my high overview of story. So Mia, she so my wife was kind of similar to now, Tim, did Aaron try breastfeeding or were you guys going strictly to bottle?
Yeah, no, I think she tried at some point.
Okay.
And then
Then she just started pumping or would you just do
yeah, she was doing pumping at the beginning for
yeah,
first
so
like
that was
month or so.
something Gina was really looking forward to. Same thing as Britta talked about, like, and especially Mia being our first child, she was really looking forward to that connection that you both touched on. And that was something that was a little disheartening for her at first, was that not that like Mia struggled to latch, and it wasn't because she wasn't willing or incapable of, I mean, she's essentially just a little incapable of doing so because she was so small. So she was 3 pounds 4 ounces when she was born, and she was just physically weak to do it. So as the weeks went on and she started to gain ounce by ounce, then we kept trying, and that was what the doctors in the NICU continued to tell her. Just said keep pumping, keep the flow, right? And then we always try 2 or 3 times a day when we see her at her peak like visually awake time frame during a 24-hour period, right? So we just kept doing that. And then finally, like, pretty sure I was probably at work by this time because it was a couple weeks down the line when she latched for the first time and actually started to show signs of sucking. But she didn't take enough. She didn't take, and that's why we also, like, I think it was like day 1 or 2, like she initially had an OG, an oral, but because then we wanted to try and work on oral stimulation by, trying to take, latch onto the boob, or take a bottle that was pumped. We had to take that out and go into the NG tube. And so that's where I was mentioning, like, when we got discharged from the NICU, they taught us to do that. And so I learned to do that and whatnot. But um we always kept at least trying, even as we went home. And that's what helped us kind of continue to progress. Where when she was 9 months old, we actually placed the G tube because she was gaining, but she wasn't gaining enough, even with the attempts and with the NG tube. And the OG and NG tubes aren't meant to be long term as they grow, right? That's what the G tube and GJ tubes are for, right? So when we hit that stage, we she got the surgery placed, or she got the G tube placed, and I remember it was like right at the beginning of COVID that she got it placed. Like it was 2 weeks before COVID went rampant. Right. So like it was talked about, but we got in just in time, or else who knows what our story would have been because it been a completely different scenario. But thankfully she was able to get in, got the G2 placed, and we just started. I think we tried to do bolus. No, we didn't try bolus yet. We just did the bags. But then we like always fluctuated with, like, I don't know if you guys ever worked with that gravity bag. That never works. Like
Mm-mm.
that always sucks the food out and the kid never gets the food, and it was a nightmare. Like we stopped that ASAP. Um so she was on the G2, but we would always at least try to give her something. And because we were starting to work with a speech therapist and a nutritionist, they kept suggesting just keep trying to. And there was even a time where she, after she had G2 placed, she had some, I think she had her anoids taken out. She had a bunch of different things kind of done, her eyes fixed and whatnot. Then we started to kind of gravitate towards trying to get her to start fully eating by mouth. And the only issue with that was it was taking so long. She was getting it, but it was taking so long that she literally couldn't do any other therapies throughout the day. And like she was 1.5, 2 years old at this point in time. And that was when we were pregnant with our second, and she was coming in, and we're like, we can't do this. So then we started to work on trying, then we're like, we just need to keep her weight up, because she was also then dropping weight because she was working so hard to eat, and she only liked specific things that she liked to eat, and they weren't either tasty enough or didn't have enough calories, and she just wasn't able to continue to gain weight. So then we just focused on then staying with the G tube. And since then, really all we've kind of fluctuated is either doing bolus, or now she does. I mean, right now she's at like about 400 mLs 3 times a day, and we run it at 300 mLs an hour, so it runs at like an hour and 20 minutes. So like she gets fed only 3 times a day in that increment, and it sustains her perfectly, and she's growing perfectly. So like it's been a roller coaster to try and get there, but I mean, and that doesn't mean she doesn't like food. Again, like whenever we go out and get ice cream, we always make sure she gets a taste because she loves that stuff. But I mean, ultimately, we would love to try and get back to getting her to feed more by mouth. It's just we don't want to sacrifice the feeding only for all of her other growth aspects that we feel she can accomplish, just for the sake of eating by mouth. When feeding by G tube is is just fine, especially with, but we do have an Edward syndrome success story of eating fully by mouth, and her name is Fiona. And her father, Brandon, I'll kick it to him to have him talk about her story.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. Yeah, I mean, like with Fiona, I feel like everything in her journey has been like uh, unique, and I guess there's other mosaic kiddos who've done the same thing. But when I talk to a lot of trisomy parents, I feel like an alien sometimes because I haven't really experienced a lot of those same things. But so Fiona. When we were in the hospital, she was born uh, really small, like most trisomy 18 kiddos, and we tried to get her to nurse, and she wasn't able to. I don't even know if she was able to open her mouth large enough to get anything. So then we tried to use the bottle, and that was a struggle. And so she had to go to the NICU because her blood sugar was too low. And eventually she got to a point where she was able to take from the bottle through like the little tiny syringe that they give you. And she was able to get some nourishment that way. And we felt successful there. And so we went home. And it was my wife breastfed our first two children, and loved it. And it was a really, comparatively, it was super simple for them. Like, they latched on right away, and she had a great time breastfeeding them. But for Fiona, it was quite a different story. For the first 3 months, we tried to feed her by bottle every couple hours. So during the day, that's not a big problem. But at night, we were waking up every 2 hours, and I would feed Fiona, and my wife Katie would pump, and we were just trying to keep up that supply. And we did that for about 3 months. And finally, we were like, we should probably get her looked at and see if she has a tongue tie or a lip tie or something like that. So we went to the doctor, and they said, yeah, she has a severe tongue tie and a severe lip tie, and probably is why she's not really able to latch on. So we went and got that done. And I don't know if you've ever seen that process, but basically I laid down on the bed and held Fiona like a bear hug, and they lasered the lip tie and the tongue tie, and
Cool.
and so basically it just takes it kind of moves the lip off of the gum, because that's where the tie is, and it allows their lips to move more freely, and their tongue as well. And so after that, one day she just magically latched on. I don't have an explanation for it. My wife doesn't either. I guess the only explanation is, well, not the only explanation. There's many explanations, but we just stood by it. And it was our mission to get this girl to breastfeed. And so she nursed for quite some time. She is off now, because she's 4.5 now, so she's off. But then she started to eat by mouth, and it was little things at first, right? Just trying different things. And we had a speech therapist, because speech and eating sort of go together, who was really good, who sort of taught her different ways to do it. And she just ate very few things. Like, she really liked bananas, and and now she will eat almost everything. She's very picky with what she eats. She'll try stuff, but she has about a dozen different foods that she likes. And some days I'm not really sure how she sustains herself, because it doesn't seem like she's eating all that much. I guess she is, but it's just I'm like, oh my gosh, how you surviving, girl? And then other days she'll eat like she'll eat like 6 bananas, and I'm like, okay.
Potassium overload.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, I'm not really sure where this is coming from. But yeah, I mean, the journey has been wild, but it's just been a gradual thing, right? And now she's going to preschool, so she's talking a lot, and she's picking up a lot of words there, and I think that's only going to help with her eating. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of a miracle that she breastfed. I talked to her doctor, and she's like, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a trisomy baby actually breastfeed. So we really stuck with it, and those first 3 months were kind of crazy. But we got to the point where we were actually successful. So it was really, really, we were really happy about it.
Sure. I didn't know about the tongue tie thing. That's really interesting. Where they literally just use a laser and they're laying on you. Like it's not like it's
Well, Fiona's laying on me, yeah. So
yeah,
yeah.
that's
Well,
interesting.
because so she's only 3 months old and like
Right.
6 pounds, so they're not gonna like strap her to a thing. This is a more this is
You know what I mean? Like they
a
wouldn't knock
kinder way.
well, like they wouldn't knock her out was because it was like a for lack of a better term, knock her out. You know what I mean? Uh
Yeah, so I don't think it's that's invasive
invasive. Yeah.
where they would have to do that. It's more of a like outpatient sort of thing. Then what's wild about that is that for 2 weeks you have to um push open her mouth and her tongue to make sure that like it doesn't grow back. And so and you have to do it for like a minute or so at a time. So 3 times a day, we had to take her lip and her tongue and just hold them apart from from the gums. And
3 months old.
yeah, 3 months old. And I'll let you guess, she did not like that.
No, no. I mean I wouldn't like that now at
No.
30 plus years old. Is that just think about someone sticking their finger in your mouth and shoving a
Yeah,
pin down there about them. No, no thanks.
yeah.
No. It's called gag reflex or something like that. Like
But
no.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm assuming none of you guys had that done, right? Because I mean, it's more of a if they're eating by mouth, that would be something that they would do. But
I
so I
mean,
don't know.
as of this recording, Mia has a scope in 9 days.
Okay.
It's going to be of like the ENT system, but no, that's never been talked about. And we know she has a big tongue that kind of blocks her airway, but it's not causing her any harm. So like that hasn't even been discussed. She's had nasal stuff done, but nothing. But like her tonsils and her adenoids removed in her throat, but not a tongue tie or anything like that.
Yeah.
We, yeah, no, I mean, she was taking bottles once we left the hospital, and you know, uh, so we never needed it, and then we were transitioning to food. So, I mean, it was just until once we got the G tube, is she needed it when she was aspirating. Then she got the oral aversion after about 3 months, and she wouldn't let anything near her mouth. So I don't know if the tongue tie or something is something that can develop. I'm guessing not, but um, yeah, we're going through an ENT, like, and she's been scoped. Everything looks good. Like, she doesn't need adenoids removed or anything for Lillian, at least.
So what is the oral or invade? What was it? Oral
Aversion. So,
aversion. Thank you.
pretty much, she doesn't like things in her mouth anymore. Like,
Okay.
I mean, we started, I'm pretty sure her first food is avocado. I think we started all of our kids on avocado, the non-sweet stuff first, so they don't just want that. And then, I mean, we gradually went to, I mean, she had probably over 20 different foods that she was eating. And then, like I said, she had that stint of, I think she had pneumonia like 4 times that put us in the hospital, at least for that. And then we did that swallow study, which is probably one of the coolest things. I don't know if anyone has had a swallow study out here, but it's pretty much a video X-ray where you can see we're trying to feed her liquids and food, and then you're seeing the food and the liquid go down and where it goes down. If it is getting stuck, if it's going down the correct tube down the esophagus into the stomach, or if it's pooling somewhere, which is what was happening with Lillian, and then it was going, unfortunately into the lung area, was that aspiration. So that's when we got the G tube. But once we got the G tube and we weren't feeding her by mouth, and she even brushing her teeth, it's so hard even to this day to allow us to get that toothbrush in to brush her teeth.
Mm.
We work with speech. They try to, get her interested with different foods, and it is just, it's not happening at this time. So we keep trying, but she just tight lips it and
Hmm.
bites down, and for whatever reason, right now, it's still a work in progress.
Hey David,
That's
when they did that study and found that, food was going elsewhere, was there something that they could have done to um like a surgery or something that would have helped it to, go to her stomach as opposed to her lungs? Or, what was their,
basically
solution
having
for that?
reflux, right? It was basically
I
stomach that was like gas. It was like acid, like building up into her esophagus, and it was kind of like stopping, kind of where it was at, right?
and to be honest, she didn't have a lot of reflux,
Okay.
but you could see it as it's going down towards the back of her throat. It was just kind of pooling in a certain area for whatever reason, if it was just the way she was developed, um, and then it just kind of some would trickle into, that I think hit that epiglottis and kind of go into the lungs.
Mm.
Um, but there was nothing, and to be honest, I mean, the G tube surgery, which is, I think it was like a total of like 15 minutes, 30 minutes surgery, if that,
Right.
you know, a more invasive surgery. At that point, I think I would have been even more terrified, but nothing along those lines was discussed when we found out.
Yeah.
Was she gagging a lot when she was aspirating, or it was
No,
silent?
it was completely silent. We didn't even know. We had no idea. She was eating normally. There was no issues with the way she was taking bottles, the way she was taking food. The only issue was that we continually were getting pneumonia, and she would have, cloudiness in her lungs in the lower half, and then I can't even remember off the top of my head who suggested. It might have been someone on one of the pages, another trisomy parent who suggested it, and then we asked to do the swallow study, and then we started researching G2 because that's what we heard we might need.
I'm no medical professional, but now it's sounding like there's some sort of flap in in like the esophagus that like maybe goes in like it. I mean, because we all know like the esophagus and the trachea are right next to each other, right?
Yeah,
So like maybe there might be something when they like disconnect or whatnot that maybe wasn't operating efficiently within Lillian's system. And ultimately what was what it sounds like was happening was that her stomach just got pushed upward for a lack of a better visual. And like when she would feed, it would go down, but then it would just sit there. It wouldn't go all the way down to the stomach, so it wouldn't be able to pool in the proper location.
yeah. Most of it was going in the stomach, which is why
Okay.
we weren't having. It wasn't like she wasn't gasping or there wasn't, an issue with her numbers besides here and there some, the pneumonia periodically. But yeah, you could see it was definitely some was going into the lungs, and any amount is the wrong amount.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Trust me. We know because Mia, like Tim asked, like when we were battling her acid reflux when we were going from feeding by mouth to this day, she occasionally has acid reflux. Like she's on Pepcid still because of just her GI tract just isn't the most efficient. And because she has pancreatic insufficiency, that was also part of it, where it was like it was coming up and bottom. Like, and it was just there was one time, like in Georgia, she just had this massive blowout. Like I remember we were going down to Florida for the first time with her, and and we were just like, all right, enough's enough. And thankfully, like she got diagnosed with pancreatic insufficiency. I don't remember the parameters, and that's for the mom pod to discuss. This is the dad pod to just talk high level here.
Has
Um,
has
so yeah,
sorry, has anyone accidentally pulled out the button of the
no,
G tube?
I have
I
not.
Uh,
Yes.
I have.
How did you do that?
Tim, you want to go first or should I?
Oh, you booked it.
Um,
Okay, this is interesting.
yeah, I have only a couple of experiences. The NG came out a couple times, and I remember the first time it came out in the hospital, I remember we were like, we got to take some pictures of her because we didn't have any pictures of her without the tube on her face. But then a babysitter had pulled it out once, and we had to go to, and she had the GJ, so we had to go to the hospital to get it replaced because it has to go through the interventional radiology. And that actually happened a couple times, and then now it just happened like a few weeks ago, but she only has the G now, so we always keep a backup with us in the backpack, and she has a backup at school too. And we Erin actually she put on her big boy pants and slapped that new one right in there in the back of the car in the pizza place parking lot. It was pretty impressive. I was freaking out. I was like, holy
Oh,
shit.
yeah, I know. I feel the pain because we got the G tube, and then we had a family vacation planned. I think it was like 2 months later, and we were like, oh, this is going to cancel everything. We're not going to be able to go now. And the gastrosurgeon was like, no, this is going to make your trip even easier. Like you're going to have no problem. You're going to not have to stop and feed her. You can just drive straight through, feed her in the car as you're going. 100% accurate. All right. So we always remove the extender that connects to the button, right after we're done feeding or anytime we're done with meds. Well, on the road trip, we're like, well, we're not going out of the car. Like, we'll just leave it connected. And that way it's easier for, myself or my wife to just reach in the back, reconnect it and everything. So we stopped at a rest stop. I don't even remember where it was. It was just kind of just a bathroom vending area, going down, going up north on, I don't know if it was 95 or whatever. It doesn't matter. So my wife's like, she decided to take our boys into the bathroom, but she had to use the bathroom also. I was like, okay, I'll take Lily and I'll check her out, gonna just lift her out of the car and everything. So I unclip her. I'm lifting her up out of the car, and all of a sudden, I'm getting wet from somewhere, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And I look down, and her. If you haven't seen the G tube has obviously you inflate it with a little. It's kind of like a little balloon on the end that holds it in her. The whole thing pulled out because it got snagged on a little hook on the car seat when I lifted her up.
Oh,
So I
no.
immediately put her down. They tell you the first thing you got to do, you put your finger kind of right over that hole and stop whatever's going on. And of course, like, my phone's in the opposite pocket. So I'm crossing my body with my hand, getting my phone out of my pocket,
Been there.
immediately like try to call my wife. What happens? Her phone is ringing in the car. And I'm like, ugh.
The
So
one time it's not attached at their hip, right?
correct. So I'm trying to open up her diaper bag where I know we have like all the extra stuff, and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to do this myself. And then I see my wife, like saving grace, come out of the rest stop. And I'll have you know, my wife does not do like wounds and blood and extra orifices easily. So I was like, I need you now. And she starts sprinting over, and, we were able to, I was able to put it back in, deflate it, put it back in. And, you know, I was the first one to make the big boo-boo, whether it's hitting the kid's head on the car, entering them in the car for the first time. No, mine was pulling the G tube out unexpectedly.
I mean, that seems mild compared to popping that out, especially since it was so fresh and so new. I remember us like having being very cognizant of stuff like that, so we didn't do that. I mean, we've blown them before. Like they've just worn out, or we're like, oh wait, it's out. Okay, like we got to go put it in. Um, I mean, and I remember like again, Gina was the one that she didn't really want to put it in because she didn't know how forceful to put it in, and I'm like, they give you lube, put it on the end, plop it in. You have 3 mLs of water on the side. You slide that into the other end, and you're good to go. It's literally simple, but you know how it is. So yeah, I mean, that's really the only thing. Thankfully, to this day, knock on wood, I've it's only just kind of popped on its own, and I've just thankfully we have replacements in various bags and rooms, like you mentioned about, and we just always make sure we know where those are, so in case that happens. Our biggest issue is just making sure we like change it out on a healthy routine basis, not letting it go too long. 'Cause you're like, oh, hey, it's good, but like you gotta keep it because I mean it is an open wound, so you gotta keep it healthy and you gotta make sure you're cleaning it and all that fun stuff.
Every
But
morning, every night we clean it.
yeah, exactly. Bath time.
Hmm.
Or like that special gel that's really expensive on Amazon. You can use that around it. I don't know what the name of it is.
Chemoseptine.
So it's like $30 in a package.
The we use the Calmoseptine. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
we
stuff
have
is pretty magic.
we have trouble getting additional ones from insurance because they're like you can only get it like every other month, and then
Right.
like then our doctor is like, well, we upgraded your size. You need this size, and the insurance is like, well, you just got one last month, so you can't get another one for still another month. And I was like, but doesn't this count as a prescription? I need a new size of one. And they're like, nope, and you still have to wait. And I said, what
Right.
such terrible red tape.
Well, that I mean that's just our lives, right? It's like you said, it's just another prescription that's like that, and each insurance company sees it differently. And I mean also like each provider, like we've gone between I don't know which one you guys got between the Mickey and the Minnie. Like I mean, barking up the Disney tree here, but I mean I've heard of kids like oh they only tolerate the Mickey or they only tolerate the Minnie. Mia literally goes in between both, and it's just like she's like, I'm just getting fed. I don't care. Like I don't know what the difference is.
Explain what on earth you're talking about, Robert, to us
It's like a it's
listeners.
yes, yes. So the G tube, there's two I mean not sizes, but like two different like dimensions, um
Spies.
connectivities, I guess you could say. Like one is called a Mickey and one is called a Minnie. But then like there's different sizes that like it fits to like I think Mia right now is a 12 French, I think is like the size of like the actual hole that the food goes into. So like you have the G tube and there's like 10 French, 12 French, 14. I don't know how big they go. I just know she's
Hmm.
at a 12 right now. But then there's also I don't know I don't know the difference between a Mickey and a Minnie, but I know there's a difference. And I know there's a
Hmm.
preference even between parents and children of them. And like it depends on what the providers are willing to offer. And like it again, it's like David mentioned, like the cost basis. Like one's cheaper this month, so that's what you're gonna get, and the other one's gonna be cheaper 9 months from now, and that's what you're gonna get then. Like it all just varies in that. So, for I don't know much more outside of that unless Tim or David know a little bit more of the difference between the two.
No, you guys reminded me of something though. So you know what the extenders all look like, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever this happened to us three times where the extender broke off in the button. So like the
Broke
whole
off in the button?
yeah, broke off in the button, so you couldn't get a new one in there because the plastic part inside there was stuck in there. And this was when she was still in the GJ, so we'd have to bring her to the hospital. So I tried like every possible way I could think of to like, and I figured out if I found a screw and I put the screw in and pushed it in and it gave enough grip on the thread so I could untwist it out. So definitely a good MacGyver story. And that happened twice. And then the third time I couldn't get it at all. And that's how she graduated to just the G tube and not the GJ because they were like, you know what? She's close enough. Let's try the G.
I'm even more
That
interested if the screw can fit into the little part of the extension. How did you get
Yeah.
the screw in there? Because whenever like like we blend Mia's food. I don't know what you guys do exactly, but like I literally blend her food in 3 day increments every 2 days. So like it's a mixture of ripple milk, chicken, avocado, peanut butter. oatmeal, some salt, green beans right now. There's some things we can mix and match, speaking with our nutritionist, but that's basically what we've kind of settled on. It's been keeping her getting her trajectory up. Recently, we've instituted prunes to help with some of her bowel movements, right? But the issues with that is that they're pitted. So like they would get stuck in various parts of either the bag or the tube or the extension. And if it wasn't for toothpicks, I wouldn't be able to like try and that's the only thing I've really been able to fit into any of the little small little holes. So where are you fitting this screw in?
I don't know. It was just like a small screw that
Oh,
just just the bottom part that
yeah,
needed to get in there, just the first couple threads,
I got you.
enough to grab it and pull it out.
Okay.
I
Do
also
do
heard
we? Sorry, Tim, go
Coca-Cola.
ahead.
I heard Coca-Cola can clean them out.
Yes, that does
Oh,
work. I have
Yeah.
tried that. I have tried that, and there was one time where when I tried it, there was too large of a pit in her actual tube that it actually bubbled up and went backwards. So even though it has that consistency to do so, it doesn't always work.
do we need to do like a disclaimer at this point? Like, don't try this at home, or
Yeah.
we're not
Right.
medical professionals. We're just dads, that on a plan.
Yeah, brought to you by Ninja Blender.
If that's what you use, I forget. I don't even know what blender we use. I just know it works really well. But there are times where I overheat it, which isn't a good thing.
We have we use a formula right now, so a complete blend. We
Yep.
would love to try to get into making our own food, but also financially right now that complete blend is paid for by the insurance, and it definitely helps out.
Mhm. No, I hear you. I hear you. The complete blend, is that the Nestle brand?
No, it is Pure Life. Why am
Oh, okay.
I?
Yeah, yeah. I think we started that on Mia, and that was the one where she couldn't keep down in either respects. Oh no, was that or there was like a more organic one. I can't remember the name of it. I just remember being a green bag.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, yeah, it's just complete pediatric. I couldn't
okay,
remember. No,
gotcha.
we have
I
been.
know that market is even slim. Like there's only like a handful of
Yeah.
options even that are even
The
open.
locale, the locale, because in the very beginning, um, we were giving her too much. Like she ballooned up. Like she gained weight so fast once we got her G tube. Like our dietitian and nutritionist was like, we need to cut this back. I just still remember seeing pictures to this day, and she is just as chunky as could be. And then that was the only time then we had issues with her, vomiting, because I think we didn't have the right, we weren't giving her the right amount in the hourly increments. Now we're on 4 feeds a day, um, and none overnight, which is always the win.
Right. So most of us have kind of mentioned speech therapist. Has anyone inquired about like a feeding therapist? Because there are specific feeding therapists. David, you nod your head. So what has your experience been with feeding therapists with William?
So I unfortunately haven't gone to a ton of the feeding therapist appointments, but w-
He's
we're on
what's
we're
the
on a
name?
sabbatical.
Yeah.
We're on a sabbatical right now from it, but because she wasn't making any strides, so it's called an episodic break. But we they will sit there. It's about an hour long session. They will blend up. They will try to do some type of feeding food to just either put it on the lips. They will use textured spoons or other things just to kind of even beat that oral aversion,
Mhm.
to try to get her interested in food and just the idea of stuff going back into her mouth.
Right.
Um, so, and that's just repetition with trying to get her excited again about eating food orally. But
David, what's the goal with that? Is the goal to have her eat food by mouth, or just have it be more of an enjoyment thing, or what's the ultimate goal with that?
Yes.
Yeah, all of
all
it.
all around. The hope, and we are due to do another swallow study, I think, in the near future. The goal is that sometimes as they get older, what was causing the aspiration will kind of either stop or they will develop, better, differently. I don't want to say better, but and it hopefully won't be going back into the lungs. So yes, the goal would be to have more of um, an oral diet as opposed to just G-tube fed.
So, Brandon, what has Fiona's experience been as she's been working with the speech therapist and feeding therapist to get her to, basically engage with more taste and whatnot? Because, like David mentioned, like you start off with more bland avocados and whatnot, but then you mentioned like she loves bananas. I know that must be an Edward syndrome trisomy 18 specialty because that's one of Mia's favorites too, is bananas and peanut butter. So, how has she kind of taken to the progression of different foods and different textures and whatnot, and how has speech therapists or even feeding therapy helped in that regard?
Well, we're in Illinois, and so she's 4.5 now. So she hasn't been doing speech therapy for about a year and a half because it ends at 3 here.
Yep.
She does it in school, but I don't know the lengths to which they go. I mean, for us, we just try to get her to try different things and see if what will take. Then every once in a while she'll decide that she likes to eat something and sort of go with that. Like she thought cheeseburgers were a good idea the other day. So
How'd
it's
that
it's
go?
really it went well. She
Nice.
liked it. Yeah.
Brandon,
Uh,
can I ask a question? So I don't know if Fiona has a lot of like medications like Lillian does. The G tube was a game changer with that because now I can just shoot them in there and we don't have to mix them with food or worry if
oh
she's
yeah, for
getting
sure.
them all. Does your daughter take any medicines that it's challenging to get down because she is eating all orally?
So she really only takes like a daily allergy medicine, and we just do a syringe for that. She did have some issues. Like she took her a couple of years to figure out how to use a straw and be able to use a straw correctly. That was one of the things that her speech therapist really worked on her with. But yeah, I mean, as far as complications, like I said with Fiona, she's sort of an oddball where she doesn't really. She's just delayed mentally a bit, and she can physically do almost anything, and so she's just little. So for me, she doesn't really have a lot of the eating struggles. It's just getting her to eat enough food, and get her to try different things. And so the more that we push her to do that, the better she is about it. But that gets
So how
hard.
does she
We're in our routines, and
so how does she react to, you said only like an allergy med, so she's not on like a multivitamin or anything, but like well, if she gets like a cold, like Tylenol or anything along those lines, does she take to that? Because I know, just there's certain things like with a neurotypical kid like our other daughter Madison, she doesn't mind Tylenol, she'll take Highlands, but like when we tried to give her Mucinex to kind of flush everything out, oh, that was a no-go. Like she had a fit for 20 minutes over that. So how does she take with like her progression? Like, does she take that when she's not feeling well, and how does she react to it?
yeah, I mean, I think all kids have some aversion to medicines at some point in their lives. Um, Fiona likes the purple medicine, so she likes Tylenol. And we do the same thing with that, where we put it in a syringe and then just she'll take it that way. The one thing that she hated and refused to take was the iron supplements.
I don't blame
Um, yeah,
her. Oh,
she and it caused so she would rather go get iron infusions down at the hospital than take the drops. And so
I mean,
that was
did you accidentally lick that stuff? Because that's like licking a
it's
rusted pole.
awful. It's the worst thing ever, and it stains. I don't, I tried all sorts of different things with her on it too. Like I put it in ice cream, I put it in like yogurt, and she's like a shark, sniffing out blood and water. She could she knew something was wrong. And it's a
Like a
so she
dog
was
spitting out the pill out of a pill tree,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So she was anemic, and we had to go do iron infusions like 6 or 7 times downtown because she refused to take the iron supplements. So that was her aversion to medicine. I'm like, all right, but no, I mean she does really well with everything. I mean, it's if she does love French fries, that is her number one go-to food.
Again, she just sounds like a 4-year-old. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, right.
yeah, she just sounds like a 4-year-old. I mean, she's literally like Madison's buddy because that's literally all she asked for. We go to Sky Zone. She's like, I want a Happy Meal. I'm like, okay, you just jumped for 55 minutes, sure. Like, but like, so like that just sounds like a neurotypical kid. She just has mosaic trisomy 18.
She finally figured out today how to ask for a Happy Meal.
Oh.
Because we were
Was it the
in.
hamburger that kicked that off?
I think so, because we were in line for McDonald's in the drive-through, and she's like, I want French fries and a Happy Burger, and I was like, oh, you want a Happy Meal? Is that what you're asking for? Oh my gosh.
That's awesome. That's so, I mean, that's honestly, that's also incredible that she's able to instinctually like put those together while
Right.
sitting in a drive-through at 4 years old.
Right. Yeah. She understands. Like first of all, she understands where she's at.
Right.
She recognizes. She sees an M. She's like, we're getting French fries.
Not anymore.
It's just like we pass 3 McDonald's like from our house to when we go to Sky Zone. I try and take them there once a week, to let her wear her energy out before bedtime once a week. And we literally pass 3 of them on our way. And every single time Madison goes, there's McDonald's. There's McDonald's again.
That's brand awareness. Like McDonald's really knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this isn't a McDonald's promotion by any stretch. This is what happens with kids, right? Like you recognize things and I mean it's cool to see their brains work in that realm, right? Like they put
What's crazy about it too, sorry to cut you off, but I had this is very important. What's crazy is that they went from like brightly colored restaurants to brown, like boring restaurants, and the kids still know.
the arch. Just the arch.
Just the arch. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You can smell it before you get there too.
Yeah.
That's also the
Sorry,
thing.
Robert.
She smells it and she's like, I smell
Yeah.
McDonald's French fries. Like, oh man. Like we tried to keep her away for so long and now it's like a weekly thing.
Nope.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll wrap up with I mean Brandon was kind of touching on it there and brought it over to kind of David's or one of you asked the other a question and I forget which way it went. But ultimately, like in the next like 3 to 5 years, what's kind of your hope and progression with your kid in regards to their feeding journey? Kind of where they're at, kind of where you feel they could potentially go. And if things stay where they are and the kid continues to progress and do everything they're supposed to be doing, are you content with, kind of the situation we're in being how it is? And there's really nothing worth changing. That doesn't mean you're not going to try, but with that, I'll let David kick it off.
3 to 5 years. Wow, that's a long time to start.
Let's double
Forward focus. Yeah. Forward focusing, I mean, my Britta and I have talked about eventually trying to make Lillian food just like you do, Robert. That would be a goal. We had made all of our kids baby food, and it was always fresh, you know, instead of having to buy it from the can or the pouches, we knew where it came from instantly. Um, that would definitely be the next step. Having her eat fully orally would be amazing, and it's definitely a goal of ours. So that's kind of where it would go. I don't see us having the G tube removed because also with her medicine, I mean, we're giving her 5 to 7 medicines, morning and the same thing at night, and it really is just so much easier and efficient. And we know, like, if her seizure medicines, we spent so many years, I think, getting the right formula down. If we're putting those in her food and she's not getting enough or she's not getting the right quantity, we're having a much bigger issue, which Robert, I know that you guys have experienced as well. So, but yeah, being fed by mouth and trying to beat that oral aversion would be a huge goal and win for us.
Awesome. Tim?
For her to enjoy a birthday cake. I mean, let's be honest. Like it's stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Tim.
Um, so the interesting thing about Brooklyn is she'll put anything in her mouth except for food. It's like with the shark sniffing out whatever that like you sneak a little dab of food on a pacifier or something. It's like she knows. Um, so like a goal for us, I feel like would be even just getting to regular tastes, with the food. Um, that'd be a good spot to be at. But it's ultimately up to her, like doing the child led kind of stuff. Like, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I have held her arms down and try to get her over her mouth and take a bite, more than once. Um, but yeah, so we got a long ways to go. At the same time, like she's come so far in her food journey, like I am kind of good. Like we are kind of good where she's at. So play it by ear.
Yeah, I'll kind of mix the two there is that Mia loves oral stimulation. She's always she has a phone cord. It started with beads, like Mardi Gras beads. And then one day she bit one off and Gina found it in her mouth, slammed on the brakes, pulled aside, pulled that out of her mouth and said never again. So now we have like these phone cords that she just loves to just floss her teeth. The thing is that she sometimes like gets her lips and sometimes she goes so aggressively that she like cuts her lips open. We turn over and her mouth's all bloody. We're like, oh, we gotta figure that out. What I'm getting at is she loves the oral stimulation. So we know she loves that sensation. We've even transitioned to a vibrating toothbrush. She loves it. Like even so much so that she comprehends and understands when I'm brushing her teeth and I've gone to both sides. Once I do the front, I go to this side, and then once I swing over to this side, she's sticking her tongue out, knowing that like, hey, it's time to do my tongue now. And like, I want you to do my tongue. I'm like, okay, perfect. Let's do your tongue and then I'll be done. So she loves that. So we know she's comprehending and putting the two together, right? So it's more along the lines of as our our goal and mission has always been making sure she's getting as many calories that she needs to be sustained so she can continue to grow. And if there's a way to implement a meal or just like a portion of a meal a day, I think Gina and I would be very happy with that with that for her to have her get to that stage. But it's going to be progress and it's going to be baby steps to get there because of the quantity of food that we do because we don't want to. I mean, we run like some water overnight, but like we don't want to run feeds like Tim was saying, where Brookie at the beginning you're running feeds for 22 or 24 hours. No, we ain't doing that. Like she was doing bolus and we've kind of retracted because she kind of had some complications with that because we were pushing it too fast because of her reflux. So I would say like in the next 3 to 5 years, if we can get her to eat one meal a day, or like one meal every other day, I think Gina and I would see that as a success. Now Fiona, well, I mean, is it going to be a 5-year-old birthday party at Gibson's, or what are we doing, Brandon?
I was hoping that she would start cooking for us. That's my next goal. I'm tired of figuring out meals every day.
That would save out your budget for sure.
Yeah, right. No, I mean for her, it's my biggest fear is that she'll start going backwards at some point. So I push her. We both push her very hard to in everything that she does, whether it's eating or school or talking or whatever. But for her, just making sure that she gets enough food and is growing. That's our main goal for her is just to keep on growing and keep on trying new things.
Fantastic. I can't end on anything better than that, because as fathers and dads, I know all four of us here can say that as long as our children are growing and thriving, it's exactly what we want. So with that, that's the end of Dad Pod